Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. Jason, what impact has listening to your favorite music when lifting weights? In the past you mentioned about Matt Perryman work regarding overtraining, and you said that pumping yourself before a set leads to recovery issues. I don't know about others, but before a set I listen to a certain song and I have to wait to that awesome point of it in order to start my heavy set. Is this method affecting my CNS recovery? Should I do my sets while being 100% calm and mentally prepared, or should I continue with this style of preset pump-ups? What you need to remember, a lot of Matt Perryman's work revolves around heavy training, like training maxes 7 days a week, because again, he's researched the squat every day. Now, this is a point of contention because off the top of my head, I can think of two guys who utilize kind of variations of Bulgarian training. That would be Bugenhagen and then Jamie Lewis. And again, you guys need to remember, Jamie Lewis made this stuff really popular online again too, before a lot of it was even being discussed on YouTube. Those are two guys who get very psyched up. They're big into metal when they train. But what you're going to find, the majority of people who train with very high frequency, very heavy weights, like high intensity sets, is calmness. And that's because coaches have found over the years who work with this that staying calm, just like Perryman's work has shown, in other words, keeping your psychological arousal very low allows you to do more total work without accumulating additional fatigue that causes you to have to deload. And that's a big part of it. It has to do with psychological arousal having its own recovery component. So in other words, if you come up and you squat 500 pounds for 1 rep every day for a week, if you do it calmly versus if you do it jamming to Slayer and screaming, you will actually be more fatigued and your training will start to regress quicker and you'll need to deload quicker from doing the latter. So that's what we're talking about here. So what I would recommend, and if you observe a lot of the guys, there are a number of guys who train with this style of training. If you watch their videos, even in meets, some of them walk up and they're stone cold calm when they compete in comps and crush competitions, whether it's powerlifting, some Olympic lifts, things like that. So this is something that you just need to note, that a lot of them keep a lower level of psychological arousal, and it seems to work very successfully. And I would recommend the same to you. And it's only because of the fact that the calmer you train, the more total work you'll be able to do every week without it impacting your recovery quite as much. And it's probably a very minor thing, but it comes down to, are we trying to maximize results? Are you trying to get as strong as possible? And that will require you to lift heavier weights without overtraining, without getting that additional fatigue in. So that's ultimately what it comes down to. So yeah, I would recommend that. That's what I would recommend. Keep yourself calm, collect. All right, next question. Hey Jason, hypothetically speaking, could it be more efficient to do an aggressive fast cut and just regain the lost muscle mass instead of doing a slow cut? I just wonder because muscle memory seems to allow some people to regain their mass extremely quickly. What are your thoughts on this? Think, coach. No, I don't necessarily recommend that. And I know there are people who say they prefer that approach, but I'm going to tell you right now, unless you're blasting gear to regain that muscle, it's going to come slower. You are better off cutting weight slow enough that you see almost no loss of strength. In other words, if your performance, your ability to lift is decreasing and you're losing muscle, you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because of the way that you need to look at it. The faster you cut, first of all, the faster you're going to rebound, right? Faster you're going to rebound. That's been noted in literature over the years. Number two, you're going to have to go back and rebuild that muscle. That muscle doesn't rebuild instantly. If you cut 5 pounds of muscle on your cut, do you honestly think you're going to regain that in a single month without anabolics? In other words, let's say you do a really, really rapid 12-week cut, right? Drop a bunch of weight and you lose 5 solid pounds of muscle mass. You do know that even because you're not going to see complete noob gains again, you're going to gain faster than, say, an intermediate would again. But it might take you 5 months to regain that muscle that you lost. Totally not worth it. Cut slower. Cut slower. Take your time with it. And remember, at the end of the day, if you cut really lean, you're going to lose muscle no matter what. That's one of the things you need to remember about this whole shredded and ripped thing. When you start talking about going under 10% body fat without drugs, the vast majority of you are going to lose muscle no matter how slow you cut at that point. So again, going to be a tricky situation. It's going to depend on what your goals are and what you're trying to do. But generally speaking, all the scientific literature, and even when you do the math on regaining muscle and everything, you're better off cutting slowly. And in an ideal world, cut and gain some strength. I mean, cut slow enough in an ideal world that you can gain very small amounts of strength on your cut. Then you know you've recomped a little bit, and that's the best of both worlds. And if you do it that way, it's going to be easier to keep the fat off also. All right, next question. Hi Jason, I've basically wasted my first few years spinning my wheels with bro splits and fluff and pump, only switching to full body compound routines recently. I've gained a bit of strength since taking your advice, so thanks mate. My question this week is, would switching to a novice 5x5 program like yours or StrongLifts allow me to get the rest of my noob gains? If not, which program should I jump on? My 1 rep maxes at the moment are pull-ups, 80 kilograms body weight plus 45 kilograms on the belt. That's 90 pounds, that's a lot. Strict press 70 kilos, squat 100 kilograms, deadlift 150 kilograms. Thanks, mate. Yeah, go ahead and do a full body 5x5. Mine, StrongLifts, held even starting strength. They'll be fine. Any of those or close variations of them will help you finish out your noob gains. Yeah, I think that's exactly what you need. You're disproportionate in your strength right now. You are upper body dominant, and that probably comes from doing the bro splits. Because your strict press, you're closing in on your body weight, right? Closing in on your body weight. You can already do 90 pounds on a pull-up, and if that's from a dead hang, considering your body weight, that's pretty good. That's real good. But your squat and your deadlift are seriously behind those in terms of strength. So yeah, you need to go ahead and 5x5 full body will be fine, particularly ones that has you start with squatting first every day. You should be able to finish out your nude games, but you do need to remember they are going to be a little bit lower body dominant because that is where you are weakest in terms of your nude games right now. Your lower body lifts are lacking considerably. And it's not because your back is weak on the squat or the deadlift, because your pull-up strength suggests otherwise. So yeah, that's what I would do. All right, next question. Running your novice recomp program. When I get to the chin-up portion of the routine each day, I am too tired to be able to get 3 sets of 5 like you say. You need to get to incorporate them all. So my question is, can I do the pull-ups at the beginning of the workout, or can I do them on my rest days, come in and out on my rest days, strictly do 3 sets of 5 or 2 sets of 8 pull-ups? I want to get really strong on pull-ups. All right, actually my program calls for chin-ups, but that's okay. As long as you're doing a parallel grip pull-up, that's probably fine. Don't do the overhand grip. You're going to get less total development. Now, as far as that goes, this is where we could talk about prioritizing. Assuming you've built a little bit of a base already, and you're not coming in and squatting 180 pounds for your sets of 5, that's probably fine to reprioritize the pull-ups. However, do not do them before squatting. You need to keep building your full body base. So if you need to switch the program around to where you do your chin-ups or pull-ups after squatting before all the pressing and other stuff to prioritize it, perfectly acceptable. But I don't want you to put them ahead of squats, because you don't want your back fatigue, your upper back fatigue when you do squats. That's going to seriously limit your strength, and it's going to limit your development. But if you need to, at a certain point, reorder things for certain reasons to prioritize something you really want to get strong at, that's okay. Just make sure that you squat first. All right, next question. I'll be out of a normal gym for about 3 months. I have access to about 300 pounds in my home gym. I'm trying to keep my deadlift strength up during that time. Would substituting power cleans instead of deadlifts for that time frame be a viable option for keeping my pulling strength up? Thanks for the great info. Well, I don't know what you deadlift. Let's assume you're a 500 pound deadlifter. You only have access to 300 pounds. No, I wouldn't quit deadlifting. Here's what I would say though. Can you maintain your overall pulling strength by doing 3 different lifts? Yes. Power cleans will help. Keep doing power cleans. Absolutely. Put a focus on those. How about Pendlay rows? Pendlay rows carry over to the deadlift. So if you've got those 2, you've got some of the bases covered, right? And then you're going, yeah, but what about my deadlifting? I can't keep my 500 up with only 300. That's true. Do speed pulls off of a deficit. In other words, do a 2-inch deficit, or if you can do it safely, if your back will handle it, a 3-inch deficit, so that the lighter weight that you have access to gives you better carryover to your actual deadlift. So if you do with the 300 pounds you have available, the heaviest you can do multiple times a week on power cleans, Pendlay rows, and deficit deadlifts, I think you'll maintain most of your deadlift strength. So it'll end up happening when you come back to the gym, if you've got a 500, it may drop down to 450. But if you keep all of that muscle mass and those pulling mechanics up through those, you'll probably have it back to 500 within 2 weeks. That's just kind of my experience on doing stuff like that over the years. So that's probably what you could expect. But definitely incorporate the Pendlay rows and deficit deadlifts as well. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.